The biggest risk is not taking any risks. In a world that's changing quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks. By Mark Zuckerberg. In 2022, I made a decision that changed the trajectory of my life forever. I decided not to attend classes anymore. No backup plan and no safety net. 8 months later, I was getting paid to code. This is actually a 3-part series where I take you through how I become a master in programming without a formal education. Episode 1, how I quit school and what happened in those first chaotic months. Episode 2, the exact 90 days roadmap that took me from beginner to landing free gigs. Episode 3, how I built a programming career without a degree. So let's get onto it. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what has been learned in school. Albert Einstein. So after my senior high school, my goal was just simple. I wanted to just attend to school and maybe master programming, just master IT, and then get a career in IT. That was just my plan. That was my original plan. And a lot of you, that's always your plan. Just after senior high school, you want to go to a college or you want to go to the university and then go pursue a career, come out with your degree and land your dream job. But then after I went into the university, my first year into the university, I got a reality check. After the first year, I realized that what I wanted to learn wasn't taught at the school. Most of the things were always outdated. Look, most of the professors out there, I'm talking from an African perspective. Maybe outside there it is different, but in Africa, that's how it is. Most of the professors, they are always outdated. Look, the person just learned something maybe 21 years ago. The person went to school 21 or 30 years ago, and what the person was taught, the person is still teaching it because the person don't want to learn the new thing. Look, most of the professors out there in Africa, look, the person have family responsibilities. The person have a lot of responsibilities after school. So you think the person will always have time to maybe go out there, learn the new tech, the new evolving tech, the new frameworks and all that to come teach you? No. What the person was taught 21 years ago, the person still teaches it and they continue to teach it. And because of that, we are always learning a lot of outdated stuff. Imagine going to a university and in the first year, you want to become a programmer, you want to be a master in programming, and they're teaching you things like how to create a folder. Doesn't make sense. No. But then that's the economy we are living. You can just go, you want to learn computing, you go for computer science. In the first year, they're teaching you how to create a folder, how to open Excel, how to do Word. It doesn't make sense. So because of that, most of the things we are always taught, they are always outdated and they don't align with what you want to learn. So what did I do? I didn't just quit school. I didn't quit school. I quit going to classes. Right after my first year of university, I decided that I wasn't going to attend any classes again. And this is the scariest decision I've made. Because look, since I've decided not to be attending to classes, I was ready to accept the fact that it will affect my grades and all that. I was ready to accept that. So I accepted everything and I decided to quit going to classes right after my first year into university. So after I've made that decision, I clocked in and I never looked back. I was always in my house. If I'm in the house, I was either sleeping, writing codes, or I was learning. These are always the 3 things I was doing. It's either I'm learning something or I'm writing code or I'm sleeping. And then I remember this one time that I went 2 days, like I was just 2 days without sleeping. I went 2 days without sleeping and then I was just clocked in, writing my course, learning. Look, I was obsessed. I was obsessed about creating softwares, websites, web applications and all that. So I was always learning, trying things out, creating projects and all that. But then one thing that changed everything for me was that I decided to focus mainly on creating projects rather than just learning. So I wasn't always the kind of person that would just learn things and that was it. I like to put things into perspective. I like to put my ideas into creating something so that I can simply evaluate myself and look at what I've created. So this was always my driving force, to create something that will impact the life of millions of people. So that was always my goal. That was always the one thing that always pushes me towards my goal. And so I created a lot of projects. And this is what they don't tell you. Most of the SaaS projects, most of your projects you are going to create, they are going to fail. Most of my projects I've created at that time, they failed. And right now, I always open my old projects and I just feel like laughing and all that, because I've always realized how much that I've grown and how much of an amateur I was back then. But then that was the point. Each project that fails taught me a lot of lessons. I've learned a lot of lessons from all of the failed projects, right? They got me to the position I am today. And because of those failed projects, I now know what I'll do for my project to fail so that I'll avoid them in my future projects. And now, if I'm creating any projects, I know what I'll do for the project to succeed. and I know how I'll create. I have my systems and everything. But when I was starting out, I didn't have those systems. And how do you develop systems? By taking action. So don't just learn. I always say this, don't just go out there and then watch tutorials and all that and then put it into sleep. No, after you are done watching any tutorial, try to create a project. Creating projects, that's where the real learning starts. That's where you learn a lot. It's not just the tutorials and the videos that teaches you. It is you implementing it and creating projects. That's where the real learning comes. But then, while I was learning to code, I was creating projects and neglecting classes. There was this big voice always in my head that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. The fear that haunted me was that my grades would tank and that what I was doing, I would not succeed in it. I mean, imagine this scenario. Let's just take it, what I was doing. I realized that it wasn't for me, so I had to quit it or something like that. And also my grades are affected, which means my life was over. So most of the decisions, they are always very scary to make. But then you just have to make those decisions. Most of us are always scared to take the first step because you go like, why will I do this? For example, if what I'm doing, if I didn't succeed in it and then the school didn't go through, then my life is just over. That's the environment influencing your decisions. With all of the things that we're going through, I realized one thing. I realized that if you put your time into something and you work really hard towards it, you will succeed. You will succeed in it. That's just something that's inevitable. Success is always inevitable if you're working towards something and you don't quit. If you don't quit, like it can take maybe 8 to 10 years, but if you don't quit and then you put your time into it, learning from it, trying things out, and just putting your time into it, working towards that goal, you succeed in that goal. So now, this was the outcome after I made that decision not to attend to classes, but then trying things out and learning on my own. This was my outcome. My grades tanked. That's for sure. My grades were affected. I didn't have a really good grades. I didn't fail though, but then I didn't have really good grades. My grades tanked because I have to sacrifice that for the person I wanted to be. But then this was the positive things after that. Look, after I was done with my degree, I didn't go for my certificate. Right now, I don't have the certificate. I didn't even go for the certificate, my degree certificates. All of my certificates, they're still at the school. But after that, I get employment opportunities from companies and businesses around me, businesses in my locality and all that. They always offer me employment opportunities. Look, they don't care about my certificate because they realize the potentials that I have. They realize what I can do. So when they are going out, they don't care about my certificate. And this is where the world is leaning towards to. Right now, no one cares about the certificate. They care about the skill you have. No one will come for you with your certificate if you cannot put the work out there. And my classmate, all of my classmates with their certificate and all that, but then I have the skill, they have the certificate, and they are not looking for the certificate, they are looking for the skill. And now a lot of them, they have their certificates there. A lot of them completed with their certificate, their first class certificate, but then they don't get jobs, they don't get job opportunities, they are hunting for jobs and all that. And what about me? I get opportunities and I still get to work for myself and all that. I still get freedom and all of the things. I still get to make my rules. So always look at the positive sides and don't focus on the negative side. If I was focusing on the negative side, I think things would have been a lot different than it is today. Look, I'm not against traditional education, but then traditional education works if you want to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. That's where traditional education works. That's if you need a certificate or if you need a degree. But then in our industry, and that is the industry of tech, no company out there is looking for your degree and all that, your first class. No, they're looking for the skill you have. If you have the skill, you are going to succeed in this current economy because right now it's all about the skill and not just about the certificate. Like I said before, if you want to be a doctor or a teacher and all that, then you need your certificate to go proof. But then this time the skill is the proof. You use the skill as a proof and then you don't get the skill from school. Like I said before, right now the tech space, it is learn online. Everything is online. If you want to be good at it, you have to learn alone. You have to learn online. You don't have to solely base it on education and the traditional school system because that ain't gonna do the work for you. That ain't gonna teach you what you want to learn. What you want to learn, you have to figure it out all alone. The Only Impossible Journey is the One You Never Begin by Tony Robbins. So most of us are always scared of the decision. They're always scared to make that decision. But then you just have to make that decision. You just have to take that first step. The success you want is on the other side. But then you just got to make that decision to follow through. My goal for this series is to get you to make that big decision and change the trajectory of your life. That is what I want for you. I don't want you to go out there after school and all that. You are stranded. You don't have any work. You don't have anything to show up for. If you have the skill, everything will be easy for you. That's if you have the skill. Look, You don't have the skill, and that is why you are struggling. It's because you don't have the skill. Let me be honest, you just don't have the skill. You just don't have the skill. That is why you are struggling. If you have the skill, you have the opportunities. If you find this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. A lot of you don't even realize that you don't subscribe. So just check. If you didn't subscribe, just make sure to subscribe, because what I want is to help you succeed. That's just my goal. And in episode 2, I'm going to show you the exact framework, the exact 90 days framework that helped me to go from writing Hello World codes to learning opportunities, the mistakes I've made, the routines, and then the breakthroughs that I've had. I'm going to share all of it in the next episode. So if you are already locked in and you are scared of making the next decision, and if you are wondering if that decision is going to work out, if everything is going to work out, then the next episode is for you and you don't want to miss it. And if you are watching this video in the first day, then wait tomorrow. The next episode will be live. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And always remember, every expert was once a beginner. And as always, let's create something great together. And make sure to watch the next episode.